Welcome to today's video where I'm going to show you Jupyter Notebook and try to convince you why a tool like this or Jupyter Notebook itself is useful in your workflow for doing your reverse engineering, your electronics repair, any of the kind of stuff you see me doing on the channel, especially like rapid prototyping. This is definitely somewhere where a tool like this would be useful. So if you're not aware of Jupyter Notebook, it is a tool that integrates kind of Python and some of the other cores in there where you can kind of program from your web browser. It's not really meant for making like a full application. However, you can do pretty complicated scripts and it's very useful. So let's just jump right into this and take a look at it, see how to get it set up and get started with it. I'll have a couple practical applications of it as well, so that way you can see like real world why this might be useful versus just like a getting started guide. So first we're going to need to get everything installed. Step one, if you're on Windows, you're going to go to the Python website, download your installer, and just install the latest stable version of Python. If you're on Linux, you would just use your package manager and install it that way. Once you have Python installed, open your command prompt and install Jupyter Notebook. So going to Jupyter Notebook's website, we'll see that pip install notebook is the command we need to run. That is running natively in your Python. So pip install notebook. I already have it installed, so it's just going to tell me all of my dependencies are good. But that's all there is to getting it installed. To run it, you can do Python m notebook, and it will start up, and it should automatically pop up a web browser. So now we have Jupyter Notebook up and running on our system. So one of the first things you're going to want to do when you get Jupyter Notebook up and running is go into Settings, Theme, and turn on the dark theme. It's going to start out in the light theme here, and we all know you can't properly work from that. So yep, theme dark. So now we have Jupyter Notebook installed. We've changed our theme to the dark theme. What is like the first thing you're going to do? So first, you'll want to create a new notebook, and these notebooks are the .ipynb, which is a Python notebook. All right, so then you can select your kernel. I only have Python set up on here right now, but you can set up like Rust or Java, or there's a couple of other kernels that you can run. I'm trying to learn Python at the moment, so I'm just kind of sticking with that. Okay, so you have two main things you can do within this. You can have a code that you can execute through the browser that's actually running, like it's full on Python. You can do anything that Python can do here, but you can also put in Markdown language to be able to do that. So you can switch in between those, the code in the Markdown right here with this drop down menu. So we can do a Markdown with some sort of header here, so test, and then we can just do a subheader, test2, and then just regular text. Okay, and then we just hit Shift Enter, and there we go. We've now made some Markdown language, which is nice because it'll allow you to do documentation in line. You can tell the story of what the code is doing or what your experiment is or whatever you have going on, because you may just be plotting something that you're working on here. So then you have your code space as well, where you can just run your Python. So this block right here is going to be Python, so we can just print hello. Okay, and then we can click run, and we've now executed the code, and we can see this one right here. And a couple of other basic things you need to know within here is this one right here means that the code had been executed with what order it has been executed in. So you can have multiple cells, and it shares the memory space between them within this kernel. So like I can have variables that I can call in a later thing. So let's go ahead and press enter and add name equals Dave or something like that. Okay, we can play, and now name has a value, so we can just name and click play, and we got Dave. Okay, so let's restart the kernel here. So we've restarted the kernel, and we still have these numbers here, which these numbers show the sequence that they were executed in. If we click that, we now have a namespace error because this wasn't executed, but these numbers make it appear as if. So to resolve this, what you need to do when you reset your kernel is reset the kernel and clear the outputs of all cells, and that resets those. So that way, you know, I know that this cell hasn't been executed, so I know that name has no value. But yeah, if I, again, play that, name has a value now, because we have to execute these in order, so 1, 2. Okay, so let's look at like a more complex one. We can just close out of Untitled 3, and we can go look at another one. So TechPlot is based on some code that I wrote for C# in the past, and I just kind of have been working through getting it to work on Python, and this is kind of what I've come up with that seems to work. So what it does is it pulls the plot off of this oscilloscope. So first we need to play this section here, which is going to connect to it, and it confirms that we're connected to the oscilloscope. The way it's connecting to it is through Visa, and we're using the Python PyVisa things. We need to instantiate this object here and open the resource. So scope is now an object. We had these Skippy commands that we're going to send that we're, again, using that object as well. So we can go ahead and just click play here. Gives us this preamble that kind of tells us what everything's gonna happen. Now we can go ahead and pull our plot, and then we can plot our plot. So this then, you know, gives me that waveform that you're seeing on the oscilloscope there. Okay, so here's another example, which is going to talk to my Keysight DMO. It's working the same manner where it's using PyVisa to connect via Visa. Is just popped up in the background. So notice the star, the little asterisk next to it right there. That means that the code is still running. And yes, I know I introduced this as you shouldn't make applications in Jupyter Notebook. It's just not necessarily intended for that. But you could make a full application like this that connects to it. So we can go ahead and just take a continuous voltage measurement there, and you can see it measuring it off of the screen there. And yeah, we are measuring the voltage. So yeah, the kernel is blocked. You know, it's blocking the kernel until this is closed. So we can go ahead, disconnect, close it, and then we'll see that that executed. So we, you know, executed these in order of 1, 2, 3. Okay, so those last two examples were kind of interesting examples of test and measurement. Let's take a look at like some of rapid prototyping. So as you see in front of you over here, we got a FTDI breakout board and a I2C display. So instead of having to get like a microcontroller up and running and dealing with all of that, I can just go directly to it and start testing the screen. Because in this example, this scenario, we're just trying to test out a peripheral or a sensor or something like that on the computer without having to get, you know, all of the microcontroller and all of that architecture set up to do our testing and see, is this screen even going to work for what I want to do? So this one, I got a couple of different displays we can check out on it. We're going to see it look like an odometer because, we do car themed stuff here. First, we're going to check that we can connect to the FTDI device, and we did connect. We're going to go look and see if we can find our I2C device, and we did. Next, we just kind of initialize the screen with a little hello world there. And then this one is going to be like an odometer. It's kind of got that mechanical feel to it, and see if we like that. And it's supposed to kind of always look mechanical. So it's not like a slot machine where they all just line up. They still kind of, some of them are going to end with half of it out, just like a regular odometer would. That one I didn't really like the way it came out that much, but it was an interesting example. So now we are running a screen that kind of like loads up like a progress bar there. And then finally we have this other one because we can run the stuff out of order. We have this here that this kind of looks like an automotive gauge. So it like lets me kind of rapidly test different examples. And if I had somebody like a client that I wanted to show and be like, hey, these are like your different options, I would have that all set up in this one sheet here without having to, reflash the microcontroller for each one or something of that nature. So just kind of is a tool you can utilize in rapid prototyping. Okay, so that kind of covers my practical applications I wanted to show you. I just wanted to give you a quick idea of how you could use this in rapid prototyping, testing, reverse engineering kind of stuff, and some test and measurement. Once you are in here trying to get acclimated, some of the hotkeys you're going to want to know is first, when you're in one of any of these, you can click escape to get into command mode, which will then allow you to do some of the hotkeys. Like you can, control B, which will open up a terminal here that you can, type into, like, Shift Enter to get it to execute it. Okay, and then you can exit out of that. You can also do Shift L, so Escape, Shift L. You can turn on your lines. To learn any of these, so just use the references here, showing your keyboard shortcuts for the markdown language to like know that this makes a bullet and that makes a headline. Make sure to, you can just reference the markdown reference here, which is the same as GitHub. If you've ever used GitHub before, they use the same markdown language. So definitely just reference that, or if you're familiar with GitHub. If you have like these headlines here give you bullet points that you can close down. So, this would close until your next headline if you wanted. And then also just remember that asterisk means if there's an asterisk there, it is running. Those are kind of like your main things that you run into when you're first getting started out on this, but it's definitely a very useful program that you're able to do all of this stuff in. So I hope you guys liked this quick tutorial on this, kind of gets you started in Jupyter Notebook and gives you some ideas of like things you can do in this. Just because it's running in the web browser doesn't mean that it's like very limited. It's just not intended for like writing a whole application. Of course, you always could if you wanted to, but I just don't believe it's kind of like the appropriate use for it. The last thing to note on this is if you open up this port on the computer, you can connect to it with another computer. If you do that, the code is being executed on the computer that has Jupyter Notebook, not from the computer that the web browser is on. So if I connect with my laptop to this computer's Jupyter Notebook, it's going to run on this computer and not on my laptop. So that is just one thing to be aware of if you're trying to kind of like do like group projects with this. It is possible to connect to it, but it's just not necessarily completely recommended. But also Jupyter Lab has that completely built into it. So yeah, definitely, I think this is a useful program. I hope you guys liked it. And if you did like it, consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next one.